6-3, Similar Figures. Today we're going to learn how to use proportions to find missing sides of similar figures. Let's look at our figures in this example. A, B, C, D is a parallelogram. A, B, C, D, we say, is similar to E, F, G, H, this parallelogram over here. They're similar, which means that they are also proportional. First, to find the missing side, we want to look for x. We know that this top part is 16. We know that this side is 18, and that this top part is 24. So when I set up my proportion, I always label my proportions so that I don't get confused as to which number goes where. This vertical part, this up and down, we're going to say is the vertical. This line across, we will say is the horizontal. So for A, B, C, D, the vertical is x, the horizontal is 16. For parallelogram E, F, G, H, the vertical is 18 and the horizontal is 24. Pause the movie now. Draw these two figures and the proportion and write the proportion in your notes. Now it's time to solve this proportion. In order to solve this proportion, I'm going to use cross products. Cross products mean that this times that is going to equal this times that. 24 times x is 24x, and 16 times 18, let's pause a minute to figure out what that is. 6 times 8 is 48, 12, 6, and 1, 8, 8. Looks like that's 288. Now I ask myself, what is x? Well, 24 is multiplying x. The inverse of multiplying is to divide. These cancel. X is equal to 288 divided by 24. Well, 24 goes into 28 one time. 28 minus 24 is 48, and it goes in there two times with a remainder of 0. So I can say that x is equal to 12. Well, what does that mean? That means that my missing side x is actually 12. Pause the movie now and copy the proportion, or the inverse operations, and the answer into your notes. Let's look at another example. Here I've got a person standing next to a tree. I want to know how tall the tree is. Well, what do I know? I know the person's height, and I know the length of their shadow. I don't know the tree's height, that's what I'm trying to find out, but I do know the tree's shadow. Let's set up a proportion. The proportion's going to be height over shadow equals height over shadow. Pause the movie now, draw this drawing into your notes, and see if you can fill the numbers in for the proportion. Don't solve quite yet. So let's start with the person. The height of the person, h, is 5. The shadow is 4. The height of the tree we don't know yet, so that's x, and the shadow of the tree is 10. Is that what you put for your proportion? If not, change your answers. Go ahead and pause the movie to try to solve this proportion on your own. Okay, let's see if you got it right. Cross products. 10 times 5 is 50. 4 times x is 4x. Let's solve for x. Who's bugging x? 4. By doing what? Multiplying. The inverse is 2, divide. So I now have 50 divided by 4. Let's see what that's going to give us for x. 4 goes into 5 one time. 4 goes into 10 twice. Uh-oh, I have a remainder. We need to add a decimal in our answer. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 25 times. So x actually equals 12.5. And we're dealing with height, so that's feet. So we now know that the x, or the tree's height, is 12.5 feet. Copy this into your notes. The last example we're going to do is a map. Usually when you read a map, they give you a scale. In this example, the scale on the map is 1 inch for every 44 miles. What that means in this example is that an inch on the map is 44 miles. So we actually want to find the distance. The problem says find the distance from Sacramento to Santa Rosa. When I look at that distance on this ruler, it looks like it's 1.5 inches. Whenever we see something like this, especially maps, it's going to be inches over miles equals inches over miles. Let's set up a proportion. We know that 1 inch on the map is equivalent to 44 miles. Since this is a proportion, inches over miles equals inches over miles. Well, what do we know from the map? We know that Santa Rosa to Sacramento is 1.5 miles. Because I have labeled my proportions inches over miles, and because I know that it's 1.5 inches, my inches go on top. My miles that I want to find out will be my variable. Here I use cross products. This is going to equal that product. X times 1 is just x. 44 times 1.5. Some of you might be able to do this in your head, but I'm going to actually multiply it out. Oh, move the decimal over 1. Looks to me like the distance from Sacramento to Santa Rosa in real life will be 66 miles. Pause the movie now and write this example in your notes. Bring all your notes back to class.